entertainment video, some more bite down boxing talk. Um, so of course we have a Gervonta Davis weekend, and we get reminded of what the kids' ceiling is. We all want Gervonta Davis to do well, but it seems like in some regards we get the carriage ahead of the hearse with this situation, and it's this constant. You can't have no boss. You can't have a boss. You have to be a boss. You can't, learn on the job or learn the ropes from anybody above you. You got to be calling all the shots. You have to be independent, etc., etc., etc. And it's a lot. It's so many illogical fallacies in this and inconsistencies in some of these arguments. Um, one thing that jumps out to me immediately, if we're talking about this young man going out on what is Tank now, 22? Boxing is not rap music, and I'm not trying to say some stereotypical thing, and it's just the most relatable thing. But this isn't talking about in terms of being independent. Boxing is a big relationship business across the board, and what gives us any indicators that this young man would be successful trying to be independent? He's just a couple of fights away from losing his belt off the losing his belt on the scale. And we've seen some of the pictures, Tevin Farmer, being the source, sending the pictures out here of him going up in weight in between fights. Fighting a little sporadically, not being as active as, one would hope for a kid his age. But then we look at the glaring thing that jumps out to me, is this Rolls Royce Cullinan, or Cullinan, however you pronounce it, Versace. But and then I'll see him after the fight, all the jewels, the jewelry, and the designer glasses and sunglasses, whatever. And that's why I'm saying, why would he want to be independent? He's obviously living his best life, spending his money on the things and the trappings that he desires and he likes. How could we sit here and try to put him in the box of you got to be a boss now? I understand that he made $1 million for the last fight. What was that? Ruiz was that his last fight? The kid that he knocked out in the first round. 35 seconds, 45 seconds or something. Hugo or something. And then this new Nunez fight, I'm imagining that he gets $1 million or something from that. And I understand he's the the cornerstone of the flagship fighter on the roster for Mayweather Promotions. I get it. So maybe I'm sure there's some love. He's being paid handsomely and all of that. But you have 400 or 500K wrapped up in a vehicle. We're not even counting all the jewelry that we just saw on both arms, fingers, glasses, maybe ears. I wasn't looking at that, but this doesn't indicate to me that this is a person that's capable of running his own. Boxing takes money. It's capital intensive. It takes money. You can't have all this money out here on toys and you're trying to run your own business and be your own businessman. It just doesn't work like that. And it's funny because I was listening to this line. I was listening to Tana Talk 3 as I was mowing my grass yesterday. This little lawn cast thing I do. It's a little bit. But I do it over on my Instagram page. And one of the dope verses in there or bars is from Benny the Butcher is the artist. But he says, these funny hustlers out here owing more than they spend. With the connect. And you owe that much. And he say go on to say she F with you, you buy her a Chanel watch. She fly out with 12 blocks. I buy her a nail shop. I listen to the lies in their lines that they tell. Shocked 6 months before I signed, I had a pie in the mailbox. But mainly on that one line, these funny hustlers out here own more than they spend. I just wonder where he is financially, with that type of vehicle, that jewelry, and who knows? And that's the thing, I don't know. Maybe Floyd, that was a gift. Maybe Floyd put the down payment. I don't know. None of us know. And I really hate to pat on another dude's pocket, but when we talk about, like I said, him being independent, when we get to these opinions about some of these fighters creating their own rosters, I hate using the word stable because of comparing. Just compare somebody to livestock. Just feel a little uncomfortable doing that. But roster, it takes money it takes relationships, and I just haven't seen. And I'm not even being critical of young Davis because we haven't seen these things. I'm just saying this because it's preposterous to even expect it. Like I said, he's coming out of these situations and his background, his upbringing that Brian Custer just did the interview with him and got all of that out there in the backstory. He's 22 now, I believe. You've had some success in the ring. You're celebrating. You're having new experiences and all of this stuff. Why would we even put that expectation on this young man? Like, that's ridiculous to me. Why would another fighter entrust Tank Davis to run his career? Like I said, you got to pay for opponents. If you're going to have other fighters, you got to pay for your other fighters' opponents. You got to work with athletic commissions. You got to work with sites. You got to go out here and work with the networks. Like, this is not rap music. This is not a hot rapper going and getting 30, 40 tracks from a bunch of various producers, putting together 2 or 3 albums in 3 years, or 2 or 3 albums in a year, making videos, paying, and some. There has to be a team, and there has to be a knowledgeable team. You have to learn how to build yourself into a pay-per-view attraction. That's the thing. These last couple of opponents really aren't even building him up to anything in many respects. And then let's look at Floyd. It looks like Floyd was like, 29 when he staked out on his own? And then we still forget that relationships, Floyd went and got some help from Schaefer, Golden Boy, De La Hoya. It was Jay Prince was in there. It was other people along the way to help build into what he did his last 10 fights, his last 8 fights. Tank Davis is nowhere near with beginning the foundation of any of that. Floyd, before he left Top Rank, he already had the 2 bouts with Castillo. He had Corrales, Emmanuel Augustus. He had all of these fights that built the foundation to go do what he did. Tank Davis does not have all of that right now. So, like I said, man, I just sit back. I try to stay on the fights and just talk about the fights and the what goes on in the ring, signed fights, stuff that we know is coming. But like I said, this notion right now that you got to be independent, you have to be your own boss, you have to be heading up a team and all of that. That's a little those are pipe dreams in my opinion. You got to do what's right for you. Is anybody on it takes matchmakers. it's capital intensive. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have a staff. You gotta be paying other people. This isn't an endorsement deal where you just go and be the face of something and Under Armour gives you a bag and they bring you the line of clothes, which I don't even think that really took off the way he had expected. But and that's because of some of the off the field, out of the ring stuff. So like I said, man, honestly, it's laughable to me that we would even have these expectations and put these demands on that young man when he's still getting his footing as a pro. Like I said, man, a 330,000 is probably the base, the base vehicle. I'm sure what he's pushing is probably some kind of luxury platinum whatever package, and it's a 500K vehicle. Like Jay said, and you don't buy one if you can't buy two. Now he probably could buy two, based on what he's earning. And I was thinking before I get on off here, I was thinking back to my little lawn cast podcast about while I'm mowing my lawn. I have some good thoughts, some of my best thoughts while I'm out there in that sun listening to music. I would actually. You could tell a lot about the maturity of a fighter as a professional, being a professional. Where do you live? What does your house look or your residence look like in relation to your vehicle? What does your house look like in relation to your jewelry? Where do you live? What neighborhood do you live in? You tell a lot about how you spend your money. So, like I said, in my opinion, it'd be a hard no for him to sit out here and try to go stake out on his own at this particular point. It might be 3 or 4 fights that he would have to go through, sock away some of that money, and start the process of becoming independent. It's guys that had to go and work for Ralph Lauren and Tommy Hilfiger, back in the day before the hip hop clothing lines launched. It was designers and whatnot that had to go pay their dues over there before they came out with Mecca and Aniche and the Rock Nation got jumping and Fubu and all of this stuff. So to me, like I said, advising this kid to skip some very important steps would be detrimental, in my opinion, to his career. So that's just me sitting back, watching what's being said and contributing to the discussion. Feel free to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, make a comment or something. If I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, I'm that far off base. Holler at me, let me know, get me together. And like I said, man, bite down, boxing, don't ever let them count you out.